Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today I will be giving my first impressions review for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and hopefully answering the question, should you buy it? So this review will be spoiler free and not a lengthy breakdown of every mechanic, more just my opinions on what it does right, what it does wrong, and what it is actually like to hopefully help you decide if it's worth purchasing for you personally. So for starters, this is a sequel to the first game, Jedi Fallen Order. You play as Cal Kestis, a Jedi Knight who was a Padawan at the time of Order 66. In the first game, you see him transform from scrapper with a lightsaber to genuine Jedi and soon to be rebel. In this game, it's basically the road from Jedi Knight to Jedi Master, even though the Jedi Order is essentially gone, and these titles are therefore mostly meaningless. The story is unique and interesting, and does a great job blending the new lore and canon that the game introduces with existing lore and canon from the films. Since these games are set during the period of the Galactic Empire, keep in mind that we are dealing with people and events from that time. So Darth Vader, Inquisitors, the Emperor, etc. But, of course, as was the case with the first game, most of the faces are new creations. In fact, some of them from very far in the past, which I actually quite enjoy, as it really helps the story feel fresh and engaging. The game itself basically just one-ups the first game in nearly every department. A lot of things are pretty much the same, like lightsaber customization, ship customization, Cal's outfits, and the color scheme and parts for your droid BD-1. You find collectibles scattered around the many worlds that you can explore, and these could be lightsaber parts, clothing items, or paint swatches for customizing things. So all of that feels the same, but honestly, no complaints, as this is something I thought the first game actually did pretty well. The combat, which is a large part of the game, is significantly improved over the first title. There is a significant amount more that you can learn to do as Cal Kestis in this game, which story-wise makes sense, as he has gained a lot of experience between the first title and this one. Your lightsaber can be used in 3 different stances, at least so far in my experience, and these stances are single blade, which is my favorite, double bladed, like Darth Maul, or dual wielded, like Ahsoka. Each stance has various moves that you can unlock and use to make the combat very complex and extremely flashy, just like Jedi combat in Star Wars should be. There are also 3 different Force skill trees. Some of the telekinetic Force skills are locked behind story progression, which I don't love because I never like things locked behind story progression unless they make extremely specific narrative sense, but you can get most of them whenever, as long as you keep leveling up and getting skill points to spend. But that's pretty much it for the skill tree and RPG side of the game, and honestly, I really like it. The game is clearly an action-adventure game, and I'm fine with that. I prefer open-world RPGs, but I like games that know how to stay in their genre, and this one does. As you level up, you can specifically target areas of improvement to make it fit your playstyle better, but you are not all bogged down by a complex skill tree or advanced attribute management system. It's all pretty straightforward. The maps you explore will again be pretty similar to the first game. Each planet will have a fairly open-ish area for you to freely explore. These areas will obviously have your main story missions, which you will do to progress the story along, but they will also have rumors, side activities, and side quests that you can choose to engage in, or not, at your own free will. One of the first planets you go to is actually sort of a hub that you can improve by finding people throughout the game and convincing them to go there. This will add shops that you can purchase things from, and visually fix up the cantina that you sort of call home. Unfortunately, these areas are not open world, or at least not in the modern sense. You can freely explore them and go any which way, but they are in reality a series of linear lanes, many of which will be inaccessible based on story progression. So there is some freedom of exploration and approach, but in practice it is actually fairly limited. And that remains one of, if not the only aspect of the game that does feel rather out of place and outdated in 2023. A new addition to the game that is related to map traversal is tameable animals. These can come in many forms, including the glider, which is a large bat-like animal that you can grab onto and glide down to other areas with, and also a horse-like bird mount that can be used to move around the map faster, as well as to reach harder to reach areas, as they can run straight up slippery slopes and can also facilitate the elusive triple jump. The game is cutscene and dialogue heavy, but has not gotten annoying for me, and I've not felt the desire to skip the cutscenes as the story is entertaining and interesting. The story is, of course, a strictly linear experience, as is the case with many story-driven action-adventure games, so do not expect much input, variance, or branching storylines, as that is not at all what this game is. However, a fun new mechanic that was not present in the first game is present here, and that mechanic is the Jedi mind trick, which actually does have dialogue options which are timed and can affect your success rate at tricking people this way. These encounters are typically story locked, but they will generally test how well you've been paying attention, as they will usually be a choice between something relevant to the person that you are tricking or something that will fail to sway them. I find this to be a pretty fun mechanic that encourages the player to actually pay attention to dialogue and story. So far, in between 10 and 15 hours of gameplay for me, the only hiccup with the game that I have really experienced is the platforming. So as someone who played the first game, I knew that platforming, or what some people might call complex parkour climbing, was going to be a part of this game. And it is. In fact, it's a huge part of this game. Now, it is even smoother and better implemented in Survivor than it was in Fallen Order, so at first, I actually had no complaints here, as it felt like a smooth and natural way to get around maps. However, later in the game, the platforming gets entirely out of control. It becomes a little insane what they expect you to do in some of these parkour courses, and I honestly think it really pulls you out of the game. The game is story-driven, but this gameplay element gets to a point where it feels totally at odds with the narrative flow of the game. I like the climbing and some puzzle solving in an action-adventure game. I do not like it when the game turns into a straight-up platformer, and I'm not kidding. Jedi Survivor literally does that as you get further into the game. My only other complaint with this game is one that pretty much all modern Star Wars media suffers from, and that is Disney's total misunderstanding of how a lightsaber works. Now, I understand why they do this. They want the games to be child-friendly and not too graphic, so they avoid a gore or dismemberment system, but that is incredibly lame and takes a lot of the bite out of being a Jedi. Essentially, you're actually just running around with a glowing baseball bat, which you use to beat up your enemies, instead of a sword made of superheated plasma that cuts through steel like a hot knife through butter. And yes, a lot of Star Wars games make, and always have made, this same mistake. But there is no reason for that to continue. And at least in older games like The Force Unleashed, the relatively bad lightsaber combat was compensated for by crazy force powers. This is not the case in this game, or at least it is not the case so far. There may be more skill trees that you unlock later that remedy this, but so far I haven't experienced that. Now again, this is not to say that the combat is not fun, because it is. I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of it thus far, and it strikes a decent balance between power and challenge. However, when the force powers are highly limited, and the lightsabers aren't lightsabers, you feel more like a ninja or a samurai and a lot less like a Jedi. And that is my complaint about the combat mechanics in Jedi Survivor. But that is actually all I have to say about the game, or at least all that makes sense to say in this video. Gameplay is pretty dang solid, and the story is interesting and well done. The game looks like it belongs in 2023. Character models and movement look pretty good, the voice acting is all way above average for gaming, and the graphics and visuals are a great example of artistic photorealism. Everything feels very Star Wars, and that works just fine for me. So, should you buy it? Well, did you like the first game? Do you like action-adventure games? Do you like combat-centric story-driven games? Are you a Star Wars fan? If you answered yes to at least 2 of those questions, then I would say that yes, this game is a safe bet for you, and you will likely enjoy it, and so I would recommend purchasing it right now at full price. If you only answered yes to 1 of those questions, I recommend waiting for a sale, but I still believe that you will like the game. If you answered no to all of those questions, then obviously I recommend passing this one up. And lastly, if you answered yes to all of those questions, you probably pre-ordered the game and have already beaten it, so you do not need my advice. In any case, thanks a ton for watching this video. I hope you found it to be informative and entertaining, or at least I hope that it helped you decide whether or not the game is right for you. But no matter what, that's all for today, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.